In order to test the loyalty of the family robot, the girl ordered it to jump out of the window, and Mike didn't hesitate at all. He jumped out of the window directly. The sound of his falling to the ground startled the father, who was playing chess. So, the father wanted to go out and find out what was going on, and thus discovered Mike, who was almost disabled. Even though he was covered in bruises at that moment, Mike still followed the rules and didn't reveal who the culprit was. However, even if Mike didn't say anything, the father could more or less guess who had done it. He called out the two daughters in the room. The father didn't want to pursue who the culprit was, but instead educated the children, asking them to regard Mike as a member of their family and not to hurt him again. Just because of this fall, Mike seemed to have his ren-du meridians unblocked. One day, Mike was playing by the seaside with the youngest daughter. During that time, the youngest daughter showed him her favorite crystal horse. She wanted Mike to admire it too, but as a robot, Mike's fingers were extremely stiff. As a result, he didn't hold it firmly, and the crystal horse fell directly onto the stones and shattered into pieces. The youngest daughter was very angry about this and directly scolded Mike and told him to go away. Hearing the order, Mike had no choice but to comply, but there seemed to be a bit more sadness in his eyes. And just at that moment, he suddenly noticed the wood on the ground, which gave him an idea. After returning home, he began to look through a large number of books in the basement. The content was about how to become a carpenter. Early the next morning, the youngest daughter found an exquisite wooden horse on her bed. It was exactly the same as the one that had been broken yesterday. She knew it was made by Mike, so she excitedly went to find Mike. After this incident, the little girl gradually fell in love with this metal guy, Mike. And when the father learned about this, he also began to feel curious about Mike. But at first, he just thought it was the learning ability within Mike's system. However, that night, the father, who was reading a book, was attracted by a sound. After walking into the basement, the father was amazed to find that Mike had not only repaired the broken projector, but was also immersed in it. This made the father feel puzzled. So the next day, he took Mike to the robot company. The father informed the staff that Mike was a robot with personality. He not only liked creating things, but also liked music. The father wanted to know if other robots would also have such situations. But the person in charge only thought that Mike had a simple malfunction and told the father to get a new one instead. This was obviously not what the father wanted. If Mike was handed over to them, the unique Mike would no longer exist. So he refused this solution. On the way home, the father made a bold decision.